Hello. I'm generally recognized as running the most productive print shops in North America, but that's not the story we want to tell today. Whether you're a person or an organization, where you are today is the sum result of a number of decisions you've made for yourself or others have made for you. Today we're going to talk about 3 of those decisions in Seaway's journey. The first is one that was made for us. The second is one that after a long period of observation without any inspiration, there was a catalyst that allowed us to make that second decision. And the third decision was a very conscious decision we made after observing the prior two. In 1995, we bought Seaway Printing. Seaway Printing was a local, general commercial, small printer. What that means is we had about 15 employees. We printed we printed letterhead and business cards and trade brochures and whatever the local businesses needed. And we were just another printer in the mix. Shortly after we bought the company, a friend of mine called one day and said, I need some help. Says, I got myself in a bit of a situation. I need 50 copies of a book. And I said, John, that's really not something we do. We do books, or we do letterhead and business cards and all these other things, but not so much books. So we continued to talk, and John said, well, did I tell you that there's probably another 100 or 200 authors like this, or one that needs help? And I said, well, now you got my attention. So in good Northeast Wisconsin mode, we decided we'd do some checking and figure this thing out. So wrangled some of my industry contacts, talked to people, understood what the challenges were. Got back to John and said, I think we have a solution for you. We started to produce these books. The first books weren't pretty, but they were better than nothing. And we got better over time. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to us, there was this thing going on kind of in the background called print on demand. Print on demand was essentially what we had started to do for my friend John, which was the ability to print small quantities at the point where you need them, rather than buying a lot of them, put them in a warehouse and hope you sell them. So on the other side of the buy-sell equation was publishers. And publishers were hearing about print on demand because they were getting tired of buying 10,000 copies of a book, putting it in a warehouse, hoping they sold. Because some portion of those books will never sell, but nobody knows which books or which versions. So my sales team started to get some traction when they'd call a publisher and talk about print on demand. And the publishers would say, print on demand? Where have you been all my life? So that allowed us to create some traction, create some conversations, and actually start to grow that business. And it started to become a significant piece of our business. Never was a huge piece of the business, but it was always something that contributed to the bottom line. As we were doing this, we started to recognize that this business was a little bit different than the rest of our business, in that there was a lot of consistency into how we manufactured this product. And if we could do this book, we could probably do that other book. But it was more of an observation than anything that was coalescing into a real thought. And then in the early 2000s, Volkswagen Group set their engineers loose on a project to essentially look at their business in kind of the same way. What makes things the same? What makes things different? And the key here was what makes them the same is more important than what makes them different. What they discovered was that they could take 2 platforms, one for rear-wheel drive cars, one for front-wheel drive cars, and essentially build their entire model mix off these 2 platforms. Save all that engineering cost, create a better vehicle, and go to market quicker. And that was that aha moment where I took that observation period we had had forever, looked at our business and realized that that's what we needed. We needed this manufacturing platform that we could then use to grow the business. As we started to deploy that, we started to really understand the business, we also transitioned the business. And we decided that we were moving away from all those other things, going to focus exclusively on books and magazines, things that we could bind. So that led to a period of time where over a 7-year period of time, we had 20% compound annual growth, basically roughly tripled sales. But we were still stuck in this whole craftsman thing. We were heavily dependent on craftsmen to execute every day. And we knew that that was not sustainable. whether it was issues with an aging workforce, competing in a market where there's very low unemployment, or the millennials whose idea of a long term in a job is 3 years. We knew that all these forces coming together would have to change how we looked at our workforce. So we, at roughly the same point in time, I had hired a continuous improvement manager, and as we started talking, he had background in Toyota systems. And my exposure to Toyota systems in the past had only ever been around the manufacturing floor. The words you all hear, lean, Kanban, Kaizen, but never about the people side of the business. I just assumed that that was some magic that happened and the people would work it out. So as we started talking about it, we started learning that one of the things that we were very proud of as a company was actually to our detriment. We had a very lean organizational structure. There was very few layers between me and the person that was putting books in a box. When we started looking at the Toyota system, we realized that they were just the opposite. Instead of having 25 or 30 people reporting to a manager, they had 4 or 6 people reporting to a leader. And that leader was actively involved with them on the shop floor every day, helping them grow, teaching them, working with them, making sure that they understood why we do stuff. And we looked at it and said, man, that's a big change. It was hard to get our head around, but we finally said, we got to try this. So we took one work cell that was always a bottleneck, was in the middle of the workflow, and we had very inconsistent results. So some days we get a fair amount out, some days we get nothing out. So we took that cell over a period of about 4 to 5 weeks. We went from 30,000 pieces a shift to 75,000 pieces a shift. And 75,000 pieces consistently. We could count on that coming out of that cell every day. And realized that maybe Toyota knew something that we didn't know. So that's the beginning of a journey that we are starting to roll out through the rest of the building. That is a big project, but it's a project that we absolutely believe in now. So we have 3 pivot points here, 3 things that happened. One happened to us, helped a friend out, found a specialization for our business, moved from being general manufacturer to having a focus. The second was this long period of observation without the catalyst to actually act on it. Then that spark came out of the Volkswagen article. We understood now how to build a platform to manufacture on that let us become a world-class manufacturer. And then the third, this is a very conscious decision we made about how we managed our people, how we developed our people. And really the key here is development more than management. And we believe that is the final piece, because without people, we cannot accomplish anything. Nor our real purpose here is to develop people anyway. So thank you.